Most people never ask, what if what they have been calling love was never love at all? The intense, desperate pull toward another person, the hunger that feels like fate, signals a flight from an interior emptiness. Notice when these intense romantic entanglements usually begin. They rarely arise during periods of deep personal fulfillment. They appear precisely when someone is most exhausted with their own life, during a stalled career, a creeping sense of meaninglessness, or an unnamed loneliness. In these moments, another person functions as a psychological life raft. Society quietly endorses this avoidance behavior. Popular music, films, and cultural narratives frequently celebrate a love that is obsessive, all-consuming, and entirely dependent. The more it feels like you would die without the other person, the more authentic it is labeled. Positioning romantic fulfillment as the primary metric for a meaningful life serves a highly specific purpose. It relieves a person of the heavy task of constructing that meaning independently. It is far easier to search for someone to complete you than to face the fact that you feel incomplete by default. This psychological pattern plays out visibly in high-pressure environments. Consider a young professional who has spent years meeting rigid familial expectations. When the total weight of the corporate and social grind becomes unbearable, a systemic exhaustion sets in. Take the case of an MBA graduate working a demanding corporate job in Mumbai. When the reality of a stalled, meaningless career sets in, a new romantic relationship frequently materializes. The dopamine generated by new messages and shared glances temporarily silences the anxiety of an unexamined life. A similar mechanism occurs under restrictive family dynamics. Consider a young corporate woman in Delhi, navigating a household that dictates her schedule, choices, and future. She initiates an office romance, often chosen explicitly against traditional norms. The relationship feels like a revolution, but beneath the surface, she hasn't chosen the partner for their unique qualities. They are a canvas onto which her desperate need for escape is painted. Whether dodging career burnout in Mumbai or hyper-controlling parents in Delhi, these bonds satisfy a craving for escape while leaving the desire for true connection untouched. The gravitational force does not come from the other person. It rises from the lack inside the self. Once the escape is initiated, a highly precise psychological mechanism takes over: projection. This is the act of unconsciously casting one's inner contents outward and experiencing them as objective reality. The world becomes a mirror of your own unknown face. You see this clearly in the modern IT grind. Imagine a software engineer living in a Bengaluru paying guest accommodation. The daily routine is isolating, and genuine emotional expression is entirely absent from her environment. Because she carries a deep-seated sense of emotional lack, anyone who touches the right interior wound is elevated to the status of a savior. A stranger simply asks, "How are you really feeling?" and the projection takes over. The stranger may just be momentarily polite, but the projection whispers, "Finally, someone truly understands me." Over time, this process forces two people into rigid roles. If you project a strong rescuer onto a partner, you automatically adopt the role of the fragile one requiring rescue. The individuals disappear. The relationship becomes an unconscious script played out between two projections. This absolute certainty, the feeling that you simply know this person is the answer to your life, is the signature of a projection operating at full capacity. You are rarely seeing the other person. You are seeing a perfect surface for your own needs. Eventually, the colored lens cracks. Awakening arrives as a sudden, brutal flattening. The gestures that felt like proof of unique love reveal their ordinariness. The partner you thought was remarkably wise is revealed to be in pain and searching for support. Think of the perfectly curated influencer couple holidaying in Goa. The social media performativity is flawless, but in private, the relationship operates on transactional foundations. When the emotional sanctuary reveals itself to be an illusion, the reality is stark. The first response to this exposure is rarely relief, it is panic. The immediate instinct is to aggressively compromise, telling yourself you must learn acceptance, while silently trying to reassemble the illusion with tape, just to keep the partner around. The collapse of the image costs the ego more than a partner. It strips away the identity that gave the person purpose, the rescuer, the rebel, or the chosen one. For the ego, losing a role can hurt more than losing a person. At this threshold, the true work begins. You must take full, unsparing ownership of your projections. This removes the comfort of blaming fate, timing, or the other person's flaws. If you don't retreat into the illusion, a vast quiet opens. Psychologists call this individuation, the journey of becoming a whole, distinct self. In practice, you sit alone, severed from everything that defined you. You are no longer someone's partner or provider. In an Indian joint family context, where identity is traditionally relational, this silence is deafening. Without the noise of household duty or the validation of a partner, the weight of being alone can feel like annihilation. If you hold the silence long enough, the unfiltered truths surface. You confront the accumulated weight of not being chosen as a child. You acknowledge your own capacity to suffocate others out of a terror of abandonment. This isolation serves as the essential private sanctuary, where the panic of loneliness transforms into the natural state of sovereign presence. The willingness to see the self in full, without a flattering filter, is the first movement of genuine growth. What does connection look like when you are no longer willing to fall blindly? It requires a completely different posture. You stop losing your footing and dissolving into another's gravity. Instead, you begin standing in love, upright on your own ground. A mature person understands that making a limited human your everything entrusts your entire inner life to something that will inevitably fail. You arrive with your history, your core values, and your interior life fully present. Awakened communication strips away manipulation. You no longer go silent to measure the other's anxiety, or withdraw to assess how desperately you are needed. You state your experience plainly. When that happened, I felt disregarded, taking full ownership without blame. Personal limits are not a form of rejection, but the condition that prevents love from becoming consumption. You can love with great depth and still say, I will not accept the way you speak to me when you are in pain. Both people maintain their own friendships, their own work, and their own inner lives. This independence arises from the understanding that a single romantic bond cannot carry the entire weight of a human life. Love after awakening accepts the reality of impermanence. There are no sweeping promises of forever used to quell momentary insecurity. The awakened person understands that people evolve and paths diverge. The central question shifts from the duration of the bond to its quality in the present. The central focus now becomes simply this: while we are still walking together, how are we choosing to treat each other today? This extends a radical freedom to both people. Because you do not need the other person to breathe, you become capable of meaning it when you say, I want you to be happy, even if that one day no longer includes me. The love that truly holds you arrives from within, built slowly through the moments where you chose truth over comfort. That is the love that brings you all the way back home, not into another's arms, but into your